Now, looking at the two cards that you have, I worry a little bit. Now, with call for help from Lay Vampire, reach out, need for backup, and admit your needs. This one is talking about needing to use shielding techniques, but one of the things that stuck out for me with this card was it says, remove untrustworthy people, be cautious in your dealings, lift your shields and stand with an ally and friend. Do not allow your innocence to create a dangerous moment for you. For someone is waiting for you to drop your guard. Do not let it be now. Dare to take your own premonition seriously. But my thing is when I'm looking at that with soulmate, it makes me wonder if, for some Scorpios right now, whoever it is that you're reaching out to, soulmate is basically saying that the conversation needs to change. Now, the card at a glance says, this card indicates changing old communication patterns and being open to a new way of interacting. You may no longer be able to have conversations that don't sustain your authenticity. Freedom lies ahead better than you can imagine. Now, I've always said this is different than any other soulmate card that I've ever seen. This is more about the conversations that you're having. The very first quote says, it's time to face my true feelings. And then, of course, the inspiration, as I've said many times before, to enjoy the beauty of a rose, we must risk being pricked by our inner thorns. This offers a new way to live. The best incentive to change is love. And then the personal question says, what truth am I embracing? This card indicates no longer living a lie. Now, the key ideas for this are speaking your truth, choosing love, freedom through transformation, resistance to commitment, an unexpected outcome and new truths. But basically between the two, whoever it is that you're reaching out to, it's like there's a need here for the conversation to start changing. And again, it has to do with your own authenticity and being true to yourself and who you are. And speaking your true feelings on top of that. All right, Scorp, here we go. Here's the energy coming through. The Ace of Staves or the Ace of Wands. Very nice. So a passionate new beginning for some of you. I don't know. I feel iffy about it. It's a beautiful card. I love the Ace of Wands, especially in terms of creativity and having a passion for something. But definitely for a lot of you, it is a new beginning. Now, in the past, yeah, and that's probably where the iffy feeling is coming from. So now, the Five of Pentacles is the past coming through. To me, it's almost like the reason why it's still there is because, you have this new beginning. But I have to wonder if for some of you there wasn't a feeling of rejection. It's either you rejecting somebody or someone rejecting you. But then on the other hand, too, if you're looking at a new beginning, there might be a little bit of financial strain, though, too. But I worry more about being cast out. Like I feel that more with this one. Now, in the present, justice. Nice. Shit. Okay, so now, just looking at the three of them, with justice in the present moment, it's needing to make amends for the wrongs of the past, basically, and get to a new beginning here. And then the other thing, too, with justice is, you're weighing out the options before you make any final decisions. But it's about fairness, fairness in the decisions that you make. But also I'm looking at, the amendment of wrongs, especially with the Five of Pentacles being the past coming through. Now, future conditions, the Two of Swords. So, you're wanting to make fair choices, but then at the same time, it's difficult to do that. And it all stems from this feeling of the Five of Pentacles with, this new beginning here front and center. It's there. It's just that with the Two of Swords, right, you know what you need to do. Like, it's just a matter of actually doing it. This isn't a choice that I think you were wanting to make. But again, it's all going back to this feeling of being pushed out, but then still wanting this fairness and balance. But the only way to get that is to make the difficult decision that you have to get back to, this right here. I mean, it's all surrounding this and needing this new beginning. Your best path to follow. Damn. Okay, so basically, when I see the Five of Swords, first of all, if you're getting caught up in nonsense here, one of the big things is you're going to have to stand up for yourself. And again, it kind of goes back to call for help. But, at the same time, when you're talking about authenticity in conversations, that's not happening here. And then the other thing, too, with the Five of Swords, as far as your best path to follow, right? Pick your battles. Pick your battles. Don't get caught up in stuff that's not going to be, what you're ultimately wanting right now, which is fairness. That's not here. That's not happening here. Damn, Scorp. And again, it's all going back to, needing this new beginning. But what is it that you need to decide to do here to get to that point? Why is it that you're having difficulty in finding this fairness and balance? And it could be because, with the 5 energy, right? Still dealing with difficult times, difficult issues, difficult conversations, fighting and arguing. These are not the battles that you want to get involved in. But then at the same time, you don't want to be taken advantage of, though, either. Oh, boy. Oh, my goodness. In your environment, the Ace of Cups. So you have the 2 aces. You have the passion and you have the emotion. And I like both. But there's a need for, fairness here before you start to do anything. And then on the other hand, it may be that there may be somebody that you need to put aside, push them out with the 5 of Pentacles, because looking at the 5 of Swords, I feel like you're getting pulled into, arguments that you don't need to be a part of. And the difficulty and the choice is, if I want a new beginning and I want a new start and I want emotional fulfillment, then I'm going to have to make the choice here to push someone else out if they're going to continue to cause me problems. My goodness, Scorp. All right. Your hopes and your fears, the 6 of Cups. So, immediately I go back to the past and it makes sense. With the 5 of Pentacles, I have to wonder if this isn't you fearing being rejected by somebody else, but then at the same time, I do feel like for some of you, there's somebody that you're going to have to cast aside. And I hate saying it that way, but I feel like they're causing you unnecessary difficulty. But then at the same time, there's a fear of rejection, though, too, on your part, looking at the 6 of Cups. But, I'm looking at it, and for some of you, I feel like, there was that kind of rejection on your part, though, like having it happen toward you and not getting to, this point here. But then at the same time, still wanting this fairness with this Ace of Cups, fairness in love and relationships, fairness in the things that make you happy and emotionally fulfilled. And there's a choice. There is a choice that's going to have to be made here, but then again, with the 5 of Swords, pick your battles. And then the King of Cups, and it's funny because this is a repeating. So when you're looking at the 9 of Swords, first of all, when you're looking at the Page of Wands and the 9 of Swords, to me, this is, it sounds good on the surface, but, it's creating some bad thoughts here, bad thinking, or this is holding you back from making the most of, the new passionate beginning. But it's because you're still not seeing the offer that you want, and it may have to do with another person. Now, on the other hand, if this doesn't have to do with another person, you're looking at the King of Cups as your own energy. You're talking about emotional distance and not being emotionally in it. But I don't know. I'm looking at, the need here to put somebody aside if they're not going to give you what you're wanting, no, either. With the 4 of Cups. Emotional apathy. It's blah, yuck. And again, it's that feeling of there's got to be something better than this. There has to be something better. Do I continue doing this for, the hopes of having this? Or do I let this go and then have to deal with the possible, rejection? Again. And that's the kicker. It's like, again, maybe I just need to push this out completely, and that's the only way that I'm going to get to, the new beginning that I'm wanting. It may not be with the person that, you're wanting it with. It's rough. It's rough, Scorp. But again, with that damn 4 of Cups. But what bothers me is the thinking that's happening around it. Now, for some of you, looking at the 9 of Swords, You know, I get the feeling that you've heard this before. Like you with the page, you've heard this before. But then, you know, again, looking at the Nine of Swords, you know, it's like those thoughts are being dredged back up because of what you've experienced before, you know? And again, with the Four of Cups, not seeing the offer that you want, you know? You may have somebody that's coming through here and there needs to be this decision that has to be made on whether or not you cut this completely out, you know, or you continue to battle for something that's not going to be there. And again, the Five of Swords, you know, choose your battles, right? Choose your battles. All right, guys, we're going to take a look at the soul trees to see what other messages there are. But integration, strength. Ooh, damn. And the crown chakra. Shit. All right, so now integration. Integration is talking about the need to get the mind, the body, and spirit going in the right direction, going back to the Chariot. Strength, needing to tap into your inner strength. And then not only that, but having the strength to know when you are getting information directly from source. When you're looking at the crown chakra, it's saying that that needs to be opened up here. You know, if you're going to get that information directly from source to help you make the decisions that you need to make, right? Like everything has to be going in the right direction. I don't know. I just think that for some of you, you know, it's like you know, but you're continuing to fight for something that I don't think that you're fully going to get the way that you want it to. Because again, it's there. It's just with justice being there, especially connected to the Ace of Cups. Again, you know, fairness and balance. And not only that, but the amendment of wrongs, though, too. You know, but I feel more like that's on the other side than you. But then at the same time, you're going to have to make the decision now to finally set this aside. Because if you're going to continue to fight for something where you're not going to get what you want, you know, maybe it is time to just say, okay, I'm done with this now, you know. All right, Scorp, we're going to take a look at the romance angels to see what messages we can get for you guys in terms of relationships. You know, and for some of you, this could be a work relationship. It could be a family member. It just depends here. But for some of you, I still feel like, you know, the lovers is lingering. And then new love, a new person has stirred your romantic feelings. That's kind of good to see. But at the same time, with retreat, you know, needing to take a break. But I don't know. I think for some of you, if you're in happy relationships, it's just a matter of, you know, getting away from certain people, certain situations, you know, and needing to spend time with a person. When you're looking at new love, you know, if for those of you who are in a relationship, it's like looking at that person through new eyes. You know, on the other hand, for some of you, you know, you may have a new person coming through, but then at the same time, you need to like get away from the outside noise. You know, maybe it's you needing to take some time to think about things. It's funny because I feel like the hermit, but then at the same time, you have a new person that's around you, or you're seeing the person that you're with through new eyes. It's not bad. It's just, you know, I still think that if you're dealing with a person who's not giving you exactly what it is that you want, especially emotionally, maybe now is the time that you make the decision that you have to. If things continue to sound good on the surface, but you're not seeing what you want, then yeah, especially if it's going to cause shit like the Nine of Swords. That's not good. You know, but I feel like that's just the past thoughts being brought back up because you've heard this before. Like you've heard this before. What is going to change this time?